In 2024, we saw a lot of failures in the gaming industry, but there's one company that I'm not sure if anybody thought that they would get to this point, at least not this quickly. They are in a dire situation, and that is Ubisoft. And potentially still the worst is yet to come for them, because it's in February of this year, of 2025, that they have to release Assassin's Creed Shadows, which has already been delayed several months. We saw the backlash to this when they decided, in all of their brilliance, Ubisoft said, hey, we're going to give fans exactly what they've been asking for over a decade. An Assassin's Creed game set in Japan. But guess what? We're going to make the main protagonist a black man, because that is exactly what everybody wants, right? It has led all of these decisions that they've made. 2024 was a disastrous year for them. Ubisoft outlines plan to improve Star Wars Outlaws after softer than expected sales. Star Wars Outlaws was a massive disaster for them. And that's another trailer that got ratioed, and they decided to ignore the fans and just continue to move forward with it. That didn't work out very well. They shut down X Defiant, which they promised this is going to remain open. We're going to have years and years worth of content for X Defiant. Don't you worry, fans. Keep playing. They shut that down, had to fire 300 people. And then maybe the one that goes kind of forgotten, Skull and Bones. Do you remember how long, Jeremy, we were hearing about Skull and Bones being in development?
Yes.
For like a fucking decade. And reportedly, they spent up to $850 million on it. And it came out and just flopped. And as a result of all of this, and this isn't even including some of the things that are upcoming, Ubisoft is on the brink of absolute collapse, truly. Their market cap has dropped 85% over the past 4 years. And it has a lot of people expecting either a buyout or something like this, or potentially fucking bankruptcy for this company, which I don't know if we could have seen that coming with all the IPs they have control of a few years ago.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember, like, so there was some discussion around Ubisoft and all of their DEI ways. I even commented the other day on this topic, Legacy Killer. I'm sure everybody is aware of him and his YouTube channel, but I commented.
I like him.
He's a good dude. He's a good dude. We've had conversations. He's a good dude. We probably disagree on some stuff, but he's a good dude. But DEI is and always will be a central problem to any company that brings that disease into it. Like any disease, it spreads and eventually it will destroy everything it touches. If the focus of the company is on identity, everything else will suffer. And he's like, I disagree, but there's a lot. I don't disagree, but there's a lot more to it in the last decade. And I acknowledge that there's a lot more problems with Ubisoft than just that. And so every company has problems, but the reality of running a company, that's the reality of running a company. But when you are actively inviting a disease into your company, it's going to accelerate all of the other problems in a negative way. If you're hiring people that are not fucking qualified, then all of those problems that you had are just going to get even worse. And that's the story of Ubisoft, in my opinion. They have had problems after problems after problems for a long time. And then their move into identity politics has just accelerated all of that shit, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I agree, like, in principle, right, that there are a lot of other things going on in the gaming industry, whether you're talking about predatory monetization practices, whether you're talking about the insane ballooning budgets of some of these projects that are going on. There's a lot of things to talk about. And of course, a lot of people are just rejecting these AAA or sometimes even quadruple A games and instead opting to just play indie titles because they're tired of that stuff. They're tired of things being broken upon release. They're tired of these companies being okay with just putting out dog shit and the customer being okay with you, and maybe you fix it, maybe you don't. Like, there are a ton of problems. But like you said, when one of your priorities as a company is not hiring people who are the most competent for the job, and instead hiring people because of their skin color or who they fuck or all these other reasons, those problems are going to be exacerbated. And that's one of the things we've seen. Yep. Like, undoubtedly, that's one of the things we've seen.
And nobody has any sympathy for them whatsoever, and they shouldn't. When does Assassin's Creed Shadows release?
February. I think maybe
Black History Month, right?
Black History Month. It might be over Valentine's. We might get to experience Black Captain America, Brave New World, and Black Assassin's Creed in the same weekend.
It's going to be one of the greatest Black History Months of all time. I cannot wait. I'm looking so much forward to it. And that's when we have our MegaCon meetup. So we're going to celebrate Black History Month too, right? So
I usually celebrate privately, but I suppose we can do it all as a group this time.
What do you think the future of Ubisoft is here moving forward? Do you think they're going to get bought out? What do you think's going to happen?
I think they're going to get bought out by somebody. I
Maybe.
think they're going to get bought out, probably some fucking Chinese investors.
Yeah.
Right? I do. I think that's probably what's going to happen. I don't know.
They can't continue to survive. They just can't. This is
A
no.
lot
There's
is
no
going
way.
to ride on Assassin's Creed, and I've said this before. As much backlash as there is, I still think that Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to sell well for like for any other game that would come out. We would
not necessarily for Assassin's Creed.
Correct.
Right.
That's the kicker. Is
Right.
that how will it stack up to the expectations of this franchise? Right. This is not going to be something that sells 300,000 copies, or it's going to sell several million copies. But the question will be, is it going to live up to the standard they've set? Is it going to meet investor expectations? Is it going to be enough to make the game profitable? All of these questions come into play. Right.
Right.
So we'll see. As much pushback as there's been to the modern Assassin's Creed franchise and the approach that they've taken to it, the games have made a fuck ton of money.
Right.
You know, so are they going to make that money with this one? Is there going to be enough backlash to really cripple it? I think that's a possibility.
Yeah, and I think that I don't think that Ubisoft will survive 2025. Not in the current way that they're in. But like you said, Assassin's Creed Shadows is a big deal. It could be a huge disaster for them, though, in reality. It could be a huge disaster.
Well, it is going to be a PR nightmare for them, regardless of whether it's successful or not.
Yeah. This is so again, it is I mean, February's actually got quite a few news stories we're gonna be following. So that'll be interesting to see. And then obviously we move into March. There's a lot of good entertainment stuff to follow. I'm obviously looking very much forward to the Nintendo Switch 2 information whenever that releases. I think that's going to be in March probably. So you got February with Assassin's Creed Shadows. Black Captain America comes out in February. There's a movie coming out in March, right? Isn't there Snow White, right? Yeah. So Snow White comes out in March. So there's a lot of good stuff happening that we're going to be able to talk about. So
January for the entertainment space is typically
Usually
a little bit of
down.
a dry month sometimes because they really load everything up for the holidays and things like that. But we always have stuff to talk about.
Always, never ending, and that's the way we like it around here. So, fuck Ubisoft.
That's right.